So today we have Dr. Lisa Carr is going to present and talk to us about attending UNL, and specifically the Animal Science Department at UNL. Dr. Carr is the Animal Science Teaching Coordinator. She also teaches in the companion animal area, so companion animal sciences. And she does a lot of advising for different clubs and organizations within the Animal Science Department. And then I'm also here, Dr. Lena Luck. I teach some of the equine classes, and then the faculty advisor for the Equestrian Team. And so if you have any questions about any of that, feel free to ask us throughout. But I'll go ahead and hand this over to Lisa.
All right, so hi. As Dr. Alex said, I am the undergraduate teaching coordinator for the Animal Science program, and I am one of our academic advisors. And so I'm just going to talk to you about our program and what we do. And if you have questions, go ahead and you can type them in the chat and let me know. And I guess I'll answer those, or we can go through anything at the end. So Lena, can you advance the slide for me?
Oh, will it not let you do that?
Thank you. So I just want to talk a little bit about our animal science department overall, and kind of how you can get started in animal science. So the animal science department at UNL encompasses kind of the three key frameworks of a land-grant institution, which is what UNL is. And so we have an education program, a research and extension program, or outreach, right? And so this webinar series is part of that extension. And then obviously the undergraduate major is part of our education program. We'll kind of focus on that. Our animal science program covers livestock species as well as equine and companion animal. And we're represented both in Nebraska and the nation and across the world with our graduates kind of going all over the place. We'll talk a little bit about that as we go. The animal science major at UNL has about 340 students currently. And we have a smaller faculty to student ratio than a lot of other programs. And that means that we try to keep the class sizes small in animal science. So, you know, if you're thinking about coming to Nebraska and the classes are really big, know that the classes in animal science usually range from 20 students to the largest ones having 100 students, maybe from some of our kind of introductory core classes that everyone takes. But a lot of those specialized courses are going to be smaller in size. The department gives out $80,000 in scholarships each year, and so we'll talk a little bit more about that at the end. But if you're interested in scholarships, those are really important to apply for those department-specific ones. All of our students are assigned a faculty advisor, and so each student who comes in has an individual person who meets with them and works out their class schedules. So for any companion animal students, that's usually me. And for the equine students, that's usually Dr. Luck. So it's someone who's specific to that industry or that area that the student wants to get a job in. And that way they have someone who's been through the program, who has connections in the industry, and is that person that's leading them as they go through. We also provide a lot of hands-on learning. Something that's really unique about our animal science program compared to other animal science programs across the country is our facilities and our ability to provide hands-on. Both Dr. Luck and myself went to colleges at other states, and we didn't have the animals directly in the building like they do here at UNL. So we have about 20 horses located in our animal science building on campus, as well as livestock species like cattle and sheep and swine. And so it really allows students to go get hands-on experiences right away in classes. Okay, so we go to the next slide. So one thing you might be asking, right, is that maybe you're not from a farm or you're not, you know, what you would think of as a traditional animal science student. Is it still the right fit for you? And the answer is yes, right? Any student, whether you're from a farm background and you're interested in working with animals, or one that's not from as much of a farming background that's interested in working with animals will do well in animal science. We offer a variety of courses, and we try to give animal students a broad experience with those animals. And so even if you're not from a rural background, you're going to learn some about livestock and get that hands-on experiences. And if you are, you're going to learn about some of the other options as well. And so we've had students and graduates who've worked with a wide variety of animals after they've graduated, from kind of our traditional livestock jobs, like going to work at a beef feedlot, to going and working, horse training or horse breeding facilities in Kentucky with race horses. I have a lot of students who work at pet food companies or at shelters. And we even have some students who are working like at SeaWorld or in Florida with marine mammals. And so we can see our students working all across the board. So if you think, I just know I want to get a job with animals in any way, then animal science could be the right fit for you. Within the animal science major, we have 7 degree options. And what these are individually specialized programs that you can take that help target kind of a key job maybe that you're looking at. Students will pick one of these and work towards it, but they can switch between options at any time. And these just sort of target different career options. So we have an animal biology and biotechnology option that's designed for students who want to go to graduate school or a professional program. We just had a student who graduated from this option last May, who's currently in medical school, right, to be a human doctor. And so this option prepared her for that. And then we have a lot of students who come through this option that go to a graduate school program. So they go on to get a master's or a doctorate degree related to animal science in reproductive physiology or nutrition or genetics or some area of specialization that they want to look at. And then they maybe go to get a job in a research field. The food animal production and management option is designed for students who want to produce, manage, or care for livestock. And it's kind of targeted beef, swine, dairy, sheep, and poultry with the classes that are in that option. And so a lot of times this might be what you think of when you think of a traditional animal science job. This is students who are feedlot managers, who are going out and doing sales for livestock companies or who are out working directly with animals. The business and communication option is for students who are interested in the business part of things. And so this might be if you're interested in marketing, advertising, ag banking, ag lending, sales type positions. And so this would be students who, are looking at themselves on that side of things. And you can market it towards animal science jobs or something more broad. Again, some students who have graduated from this option are doing things like working for banking companies or working more at the business side of a company, doing sales, that sort of thing. The veterinary animal science option is one you might think of first when you're thinking about an animal science degree, right? If you're thinking you want to go to veterinary school, this option has all the pre-vet requirements built directly into it. And so students who graduate with this option meet the requirements to apply for veterinary school. So as long as their grades, they've got experiences, then they can go ahead and apply to get into vet school. And this option, being in the animal science major, works really well in that declaring yourself as pre-vet doesn't necessarily end up with a degree. And so this one gives you a bachelor's degree in animal science, so that if you go to vet school, you have that bachelor's degree. But if you don't go to vet school, you also have a bachelor's degree that then opens you up to those other job opportunities that are available when you have a college degree. All right. And then our last 3 options, the first is the equine science option. And this one, again, is focused on students who might want to go work in the horse industry. So things like reproduction, physiology, nutrition of horses. So a few examples of students who have graduated from the equine science program. So some work in sales for equine companies. We have a couple of students who live in Kentucky now who work, one on a breeding facility for a racehorse farm. We have other students who work as barn managers or other kind of hands-on things with horses. And so this one is kind of targeting anyone who would want to work with horses. The meat science option is for students who want to learn about animal products, in particular meats, and kind of food safety. And so this one is an option where the graduates from this option are in really high demand from the industry because they can go work at any of those human food companies. We can think about that are developing foods for us or selling meats for us, as well as a lot of times they students from this option can go into the pet food industry as well. So there's generally more job options for the students in meat science than there might be actual graduates. And the last of our 7 options is the companion animal science option. And this is the option for students who are wanting to get a job working with companion animals. So that would be like dogs, cats, rabbits, small pets. And so there's, again, a kind of a variety of students who go out from that. Some of the jobs our students from this option have gotten would be working at a shelter. And so Nebraska Humane Society in Omaha has some of our graduates, Capital Humane Society here in Lincoln, shelters in Denver and other states have our graduates there. In addition, things like working for a pet food company. So Nature's Variety here in Lincoln is a pet food company. We have students who work there. Or at Oxbow Animal Health that makes diets for guinea pigs and rabbits. We have graduates there. So again, kind of anything that has to do with small animals or companion animals. I just want to check and see, does anybody have any questions before I move on? We're all good? Okay. So in addition to the options, we have a few specialized programs that students might be interested in if they're looking at getting a further specialization within animal science. So we have a Nebraska Beef Industry Scholars Minor. And so this is a really cool program for any student interested in the beef industry. And so it's a minor really targeted at teaching students all aspects of the beef industry, especially here in Nebraska, since we are one of the leading states in the beef industry. We want to make sure our students are the best prepared to go work in the beef industry, whether it be in Nebraska or out in other states. And so this minor is really cool. Students start kind of as a cohort as freshmen, and they work through the minor together, and they take specific classes each year to go through it. And they work directly with leaders from the beef industry. And so they'll have those people from the industry come in as speakers in classes. The students design their own beef summit where they actually bring in speakers and they teach people for a day about the beef industry. They go on their own study tour where they visit different facilities. And so it's a really cool way that engages people in animal science, ag economics, as well as ag leadership to design this minor that really is making our students stand out going into jobs in the beef industry. In addition, we also have beef feedlot management internship program. And so this internship program is for students. Generally, they do it right before they graduate or right after they graduate. And they do a 6-month internship at beef feedlots or in other cattle production facilities. The university helps the students find those internships. They go through a class that teaches them about it and then go out and work on feedlots. And this program's in its 30th year of existence, and a lot of those students get jobs directly with those feedlots once they're done. And kind of a cool thing is they'll even take in students who have very limited experience in beef feedlots. And at the end of this program, then they're going to be really well qualified for a job. And so if they're thinking, I want to work with cattle, but I don't know as much as I should, this is a really cool way for students to get that experience. While you're an animal science student, there are lots of hands-on things you can do outside of the classwork, right? And so one of the big things is student involvement or student clubs. And at UNL, I think the number is somewhere over 400, maybe it's more than that, student organizations exist. So there's a club for anything you could possibly want to do. But we have several clubs and organizations related directly to animal science. So I just want to highlight a few of those options for you. We have animal science ambassadors, which those are students on that very first slide. And they work directly with our admissions coordinator in animal science to meet with high school students, to give tours and teach students about our program. Black and Bridle Club is a club for students who are interested in livestock, and they meet once a month. They have speakers come in. Within Black and Bridle, there are two specialty groups, the Collegiate Cattlemen and the Future Pork Leaders, that are obviously a little more focused on specific livestock species. The university offers judging teams, so I don't know if any of you have done horse judging or livestock judging through 4-H, but you can continue that in college. So we have collegiate livestock judging, meats judging, and horse judging teams. And so there's something where you take a class, and then you would go out and judge and compete against other universities. So you do some traveling, but get a lot of experience there. We have a meat animal evaluation team, which looks at evaluating meat animals and carcasses. So it kind of combines some of those livestock judging and meats judging knowledge things that you need. We have a rodeo team and a rodeo club. So the students who compete in collegiate rodeo would join that rodeo team, and they can compete in rodeo events through and represent the university. And then there's also a club for students who don't compete but want to know more about rodeo or learn more about rodeo, and also help with putting on the rodeo that UNL hosts every year in the spring. Students for Education in Exotic and Companion Animals, SECA, is a student organization for students interested in companion animals, exotics. They bring in speakers. They offer a dog training class to the community, and so there's different hands-on opportunities there. And then the last one on the list is the UNL Equestrian Team, and Dr. Luck is going to talk a little bit more about them.
So I imagine some of you are interested in, when you go to college, being able to continue your riding career and riding horses. And so the UNL does have an equestrian team, and it's actually a really strong team. They have, I can't remember how many years now they have gone on to nationals, but it's been quite a few. And so they show in the Intercollegiate Horse Show Association, so IHSA, and if you want to know more about it, you can always look it up online, and the website is ihsainc.com. And so if you want to know more about the association that you would compete within in college, that's it. Other universities do have NCEA or NCAA type equestrian teams. UNL currently competes with the Intercollegiate Horse Show Association. But one good thing about that is it gives us more opportunities for our students. With IHSA, we need riders of all skill levels. So riders all the way from the beginner level, so they've taken less than 2 years of instruction, they haven't really had a whole lot of lessons, all the way to riders that have been to world competitions, national type competitions. And then there's lots of levels between those two. They compete Western and English, but one thing to make that's important to note with any type of collegiate riding, regardless if you're doing the Intercollegiate Horse Show Association or you're doing NCEA, it is all equitation or horsemanship. So in Western, you as a rider is always what's going to be judged, mainly because at any of these collegiate competitions, you are going to ride horses that are provided by the school that you are competing at. And so to make it fair, since you don't know these horses and you don't want to be judged on someone else's horse, whether because it may or may not be as good as the next horse, they should be around the same level, the horses. But if you are showing your abilities and your riding position, then it can make it a little bit more fair. So on the Western side, it's Western horsemanship. For the very top level riders, they do offer reining. And then on the English side, they show an equitation on the flat. However, it's not, they use the United States Equestrian Association's rules, and so there is no pattern. So they don't really follow along with AQHA. English under saddle type classes, it's going to be more on the side of the United States Hunter Jumper Association. And then they have equitation over fences for the top 3 levels on the English side. So, and then some stats about the UNL's team. The Western team has won our region for at least the last 12 years. It could be more. I couldn't remember the number off the top of my head. They've also then qualified themselves for semifinals and gone on to nationals, I would say at least 6 years, 7 years, maybe 8 years, somewhere around there, 6 to 8 years. I don't know the exact number. And then this last year, they placed 5th at nationals on the Western side. The Huntsy team is a little bit newer. They don't have quite as many years of competition. However, they're doing really well. This year, they're actually leaving the region. So that's exciting. Hopefully, they're going to win the region and will qualify on to postseason competition. But if you ever have any more questions about the equestrian team, feel free to contact myself, Dr. Lena Luck, or Lori Jackson. She is the coach for the equestrian team, and she'd be more than happy to speak to you about it.
Okay, so a few more things that we offer, right? There are a lot of study tours or study abroad, and so these would be experiences where you could go out and learn more about those industries. So we have several what we call industry study tours, and those are essentially like getting in a van and driving to places here in the United States that you would go visit. I'll give you the example of the horse industry tour. One year they take a van over spring break and they drive from UNL down to Texas and back. And so they'll stop at different horse businesses on the way down to Texas and back. And so they kind of focus more on Western side of things. And then the alternate years they'll go actually drive out to Kentucky and back and look at the racehorse industry and different stops along the way. And so they learn about the industries while they're doing that. There are also a whole bunch of animal science related study abroad trips, and these vary in length depending on where you're going. And so, for example, there's a group of students who will be leaving, I think it's the day after Christmas this year, for New Zealand and doing a study abroad trip in New Zealand where they'll look at the animal agricultural industries in New Zealand. But UNL offers ones to lots of other places. I know I've had several of my students do ones to Africa in the summers, to Namibia or Botswana. And so you can kind of find a whole bunch of options for study abroad if that's something you're interested in.
I think also on the horse side of things, in the next couple years, Dr. Kathy Anderson is going to offer a study abroad to Ireland. So that's kind of exciting for future students.
And then in addition, we have an internship program. So we help students match with internships. We try to require all students to do an internship so that they will be more marketable towards their job in the future. And so lots of companies will partner with us for internships. I mentioned judging teams earlier. A lot of students are undergraduate teaching assistants, so helping teach in the classroom to gain experience. If you enjoyed 4-H, doing an extension education experience is really good. You can usually partner with someone like Dr. Luck or myself and help with a 4-H program. I know both of us usually have a student do an extension experience to help put on like our contest in the spring or the summer and running and managing those, or you might do it in your county with the county fair. And we also offer a lot of undergraduate research experience or UCARE, and those are actually sponsored through the university, so you can fill out an application to UCARE, and it helps to pay your salary, and you get to work in a lab on a research project. And so students will do that in like the areas of physiology or reproduction, nutrition, genetics, and help watch and manage those research projects. So I mentioned earlier we give out a large number of departmental scholarships. It's about $80,000 a year. $20,000 of that is awarded to incoming animal science freshmen, and $60,000 is awarded to sophomores through seniors who are kind of ongoing students within the department. We will have an application specific to our departmental scholarships. So when you apply to UNL, you're automatically looked at for a lot of UNL scholarships as well as some Kastner scholarships. But the Department of Animal Science then has our own application that's sent out once you're admitted to the university. And I strongly encourage students to fill this out. It asks about your animal interests, and you'll write about what species you're interested in. Some of our scholarships are earmarked towards students with specific species interests, whether that's beef, cattle, poultry, companion animals, equine. And so they want you to fill out that, think about your experience so that you can tell them what experience do you have and which scholarships would be the best match for you. And so these scholarships are based on academic ability as well as some financial need. We also have transfer student scholarships that are available for any new transfer students that will come in the fall semester. And these are some examples of internships we've had students do in the last couple of years. You can see there's a whole lot of different internships depending on what your interests and jobs are. So if you're looking at there's ones at vet clinics, at human food companies, right, like Hormel, at feedlots, Prairie Land. There's also things like the Henry Dorley Zoo in Omaha, or at SeaWorld, or being an animal caretaker at US Mark, which is a livestock facility. There is interning at vet clinics. The one equine one I see on here right away is the Budweiser Clydesdales. So we had an intern with them who traveled with them as they went around, or the Cheetah Conservation Fund, right? So we have kind of internships all over the place. Some of these the students found themselves, and some of them they helped get linked to through UNL. We have through our career services a listing of internships available. So that's sort of what we have for the presentation. And so again, thanks for listening. But both Dr. Luck and I would be happy to answer any questions you might have about the animal science program, about preparing for college, anything that you might want to know from either one of us.
And you can always, if you don't want to talk, you can always write it in the chat box as well, and we can answer those questions.
And if you think of questions later, one, you can find me if you search me on the UNL website, but my email is lisa.carr, K-A-R-R, at unl.edu.
And my email, also you can search me pretty easy, Lena Luck, but my email is lena.luck@unl.edu. And so I just put both of those in the chat box. So if you want to click on the chat box, you can also see that, the spelling of our names and what our email addresses are if you'd like to ask us any questions. And then I also just typed in Lori Jackson, who is the equestrian team coach. So if you have any questions about UNL's equestrian team, you can always contact Lori Jackson. It's ljackson2@unl.edu. Well, it doesn't look like anyone has any questions. Are you sure no one has any questions about anything related to attending UNL? Even if it's not specifically the animal science department, we might have answers. All right, well, I guess we'll end with that since no one seems to have any questions. If you think of anything, please feel free to email us. This also will be posted online for anyone else that wants to watch it. So if you have anyone you know that would like to know more about the animal science department, to tell them they can check out this webinar online. Well, thank you for joining.